That wizard came from the moon.
Get over here!
Hello and welcome to Night 3, Week 3 of the Development Needed podcast. Once again, I'm Swagasaur70, and joining me once again are Yellowsaur69 and Majin BXR. What's up, guys?
What's going on?
What's up?
So, what do we got tonight, guys? You got a little rundown for us?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Well, tonight we're going to be taking a little different approach, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the collector's edition of games. We're going to be talking. Eric's got a special topic that he wanted to keep disclosed, so it's going to be a surprise to us too. And we're going to talk a little bit about how Sony versus Microsoft, how they did on their revenue for Q1.
So, if you haven't been here for the past couple of weeks, we're just a group of friends. We're trying to get this podcast thing off the ground. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all basically on Dev Needed Cast or Development Needed Cast, depending on the media site. You can see our YouTube is down in the bottom right. Every week we're going to try to have the previous week's podcast as well as each individual segment cut up for y'all to watch. So if you want to go ahead and go over there, give us a like, subscribe, whatever you want to do. Go ahead and follow us here. We like to interact on the chat. We like to see a lot of people coming in here and just interacting. And something new that you may or may not notice on our channel page. If you want to contribute to this channel, then just tell us what's up. Give us a thought about what you want to do. There will be a link to SurveyMonkey where you can just fill in your Twitch username and whatever topic you'd like to see us cover. And if we like it, we might actually talk about it. So, welcome.
Yep, and real quick before we start off, just wanted to say thanks everyone who went out and did like our Facebook page, follow our Twitter, go on our YouTube, gave us some of the likes. We've actually had quite a few likes, a little bit more than I thought we would on ours, but we also did something new with our broadcast on YouTube, if you haven't noticed, to where if you wanted to listen to a particular topic you missed or one of them that you wanted to share with a friend about a specific topic we talked about, we're now going to be breaking our YouTube videos up into our 3 to 4 subtopics that we've got. So if you do want to share those with someone who might be interested in Windows 10 or backwards compatibility or anything like that we've talked about, feel free to share it with them, and that'd be greatly appreciated.
Yeah, so if there's nothing further, we can go ahead and dive into the meat of this week. Like Majin BXR, like Seth said, I want to talk about collector's editions because I'm one of these that's pretty much a sucker for a collector's edition. If there's something pretty big and it's a game that I was already going to buy, there's like a 99% chance that I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to go ahead and pick it up because for me, sometimes having the real world equivalent of something that exists in one of my favorite fake world things, one of my favorite fictional universe things is going to be a huge thing. So how do you all feel about owning real world stuff from these fictional universes?
I'm almost in the same boat as you are. If they release a special edition or collector's edition with stuff, you just gotta look at me and just say it's out, or in the words of Shia, just tell me to just do it. And money is not an issue. I'll sell anything in my room I've got. I
believe that.
Go out and do whatever.
Totally believe that one.
Yeah, collector's edition. All you gotta do is say weak if you don't. Next thing you know, I spent $140 on accident.
Spend $140 for your week.
Yeah, I'm the same way. New collector's edition things come with so much in a package. Like you talked about Fallout 4, things like that. You get the Pip-Boy edition. For me, I have this. Let's see if I can bring it up here. I have the Halo helmet here. That's what sold me, and this actually can be made into a helmet because I know a buddy that's did it. So, yeah. But anyway.
Try to put your head in that.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna work.
Put your head in it or you're weak.
But it is head size, so I could just keep it like this for the rest of the podcast talk. But anyway,
Nice.
things like that they're adding into games, I think it's pretty neat because it also gives you like a valuable to collective outside of the game. So even
Right.
when you're not playing the game, like for me, you can have that helmet that's been since 2007. So I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah, and I mean that's something that's going to stick around. You can always have that, and that's not something that they're doing anymore. The Legendary Edition of that particular Halo, that was Halo 3, correct?
Right.
So that Legendary Edition, if you were to try to find it now, it would be so hard to find. So basically, I love having the real world stuff. I don't buy a lot of collector's editions, or I haven't in the past, because I'll look at it and say, "Oh my god, I need that," and then when the time comes, I'm either broke or I just can't do it at the time. So
Hey, if there's a will, there's a way.
very true. But that kind of rolls right into the next thing that I'm kind of wanting to address. Do the cost of these things equal how much they're worth? I mean, the first collector's edition I got was the legendary Halo Reach, and where I thought it was cool that I had all the extra stuff, like the background, the lore stuff. Then it comes with this statue that literally sat in my room for years and barely got touched. I mean, it's just kind of something that I had, and I liked the fact that I had it, but it wasn't anything that I could really use or anything that I could do.
Well, it all depends.
Yeah.
Like Son said, depends on what you're getting extra. You look at like the Juggernog edition I mentioned last week that's coming out. $200, you get some coasters, you get basically a game that's $60, you get a season pass that's, I think this one's retailed at, I want to say 50. That's 110 already as it is. You get coasters and a mini fridge that looks like an actual drink machine from the zombies. So when you look at that one, $200 is a lot of money to front for something, but you're getting like literally something that you can take and use. And then you have other editions that you get, like there's the special edition that me and you have pre-ordered for Destiny, where I think it's like $80. We're getting Destiny and all of our expansions twice, and what are we buying it for? I'm pretty sure we're buying it for a strange coin to use if Zur ever comes around. So
Yeah.
they really sucked us into that one for no reason. So it's all dependent on what you're getting extra.
Yeah, like I agree. Like some things will always sit on like your counter, like my helmet, for example. But I know back in the day, like any Yu-Gi-Oh game that would come out for like PlayStation or Xbox, it would come with a card. And for me, it'd always be a fake card. You get like Winged Dragon Raw was one for the Xbox one that first came out, and then for the other one you got a foil negate magic, and you got a Raikou, and they're not that great of cards. But like for me, my Winged Dragon Raw, of course it was fake, but I was also able to trade it around for 3 pieces of Exodia. So,
Yeah.
you can always get use out of that because in 2 or 3 years things could be worth more. Like, I'm sure like your Pit-Boy edition for Fallout, the things you're going to get for that, you'll be able to sell it for something. So honestly, you're going to get more value out of it. You're going to drop the $200 or however much it is to get it, but 2 or 3 years from now, you could probably sell just the individual piece for 300 or 400. So it's not an
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
initial
they're-
profit off things, but in the long run, most definitely.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to think of it too, I mean, they're already on eBay selling pre-orders, which is a screenshot of your Amazon cart. They're already pre-ordering from $350 to $500, and that's bidding. That's not just buy it now. They're already bidding for that. So when like November comes around, when it's not released anymore, and people are for sure never going to see that ever again, they're going to be selling for at least a couple $100 more, I would say.
Right.
Right. And see, a lot of people said, well, it depends on what you get. I can remember when Arkham Asylum and Arkham City came out. They had different special editions of those, and I believe it was the Arkham Asylum one. It just came with a Batarang, and that's literally all it was. So I'm sitting here, well, I mean, Arkham City or Arkham Asylum was a great game, but I have no use for just a Batarang. I have literally no use for just a Batarang to sit around. So it would be cool. And if I was a huge Marvel or a huge DC fan, if I was a huge Batman fan, I would love to have that. But it's not one of those things that I sit here and go, yeah, I think that I actually need this Batarang. I think it's one of the things that I need forever. And I'm just like, You know, it's not something that would be worth to me. Pit-Boy Edition, worth. If I had had an Xbox 360 when they came out, the night vision goggles, Modern Warfare Collector's Edition, that would have been awesome. But it, again, wasn't one of those things that I had the money for or actually needed at the time. So the cost didn't outweigh the worth.
Right. And I agree.
That's very
like,
true.
It has to like base on if you want it or not. It's not necessarily if you need it to enhance your gameplay, because I know like you said, like the Destiny thing, it comes with a strange coin. You know, do you really, really need that? That's an upfront beneficial thing. Is it gonna? Eric's shaking his head. No. Is that?
I got
gonna
like
ben-
600 of those things.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, it all depends on if you need it or not. Like back when I was talking about the Yu-Gi-Oh things, did I need those cards? Yeah, sure. Why not? They could make an initial. I don't know why you're shaking your head. No, because they made initial impact. Because I got some Exodia pieces off them.
True.
But I don't have those anymore. But anyway, you know, it all depends. You know, would you want it to sit around? Does it need use? Are you trying to make money off of it? Are you wanting to sell it in the long run? You know, just things like that.
Well, that again, that rolls pretty well into my next little topic. How do you think the developers go about saying you need this product? You need this. You need this little RC car from Black Ops. You need these night vision goggles. You need the what's the fridge, Eric?
It's a juggernaut. Well, it's a
Yeah.
fridge. It gets all the colas out of it, but
Yeah. But do you need
You know.
a juggernaut fridge? I mean, it's one of those things. How do they convince these people that this is something I need? This isn't just something that's a offhand thing that I can go, oh, well, yeah, that'd be cool. How did they get you to go ahead and buy it? Because I've got to have this juggernaut machine. I've got to have this Master Chief helmet.
Right.
well, I think it also plays in. Well, I mean, I didn't know the Juggernaut edition came out till they're already all sold out. But I look around my room and I drink, warm Orange Crush, or like room temperature warm crush or Orange Crush or whatever. Would I love to have a mini fridge? That's also based on a game that I might even get. Yeah, I'd love to have a mini fridge like that. So you look at people like that, and I mean, some of you are not going to get used out of. The Pit Boys, I mean, I'm going to end up wearing it to work as a watch because, it's not going to inhibit what I'm doing. So I'm going to wear it, and it's going to be something that you can actually use or wear, or extras like that, like the night vision goggles, the RC car, the everything basically is usable are the ones that you get the good ones out of. So you look at it as something you can actually get use out of. That's going to make me more inclined to buy it because I'm not buying just a game and like a statue. I'm buying a game in a mini refrigerator or, a oversized wristwatch sort of thing,
Yeah, I feel the same way as Eric. You know, I wouldn't necessarily buy this to have an advantage in the game because I would just play the heck out of that game anyway if I'm going to go out and buy the collector's edition because I'm a tightwad on things. But anyway, I would want something, to like have as a memorabilia, my helmet. It's pretty neat, I've always taken good care of it, things like that. But anyway, if a new game came out with something like Destiny came out with like a special like cape or special something like that, it's got to be an item that I can use outside of the game that's going to have some use. That's not just going to sit there.
Right.
Yeah, and then also
Well,
like Sion said in the chat, he said it's usually something that's game related that will stick with you. So if you have a game that you really love, like if someone's in love with all these Black Ops games and they played zombies a lot, I mean, you got that cooler, the mini fridge that's based on things from the game. I mean, you love that game, so why not get something that's going to remind you of the game every time you want something to drink?
Right. Well, you mentioned that it probably needs to be something tangible. How about all these companies that have jumped on the DLC bandwagon and are now releasing digital collector's editions? Like you've got Destiny. They have a digital collector's edition coming out with this new expansion. It's just like, really? How do you convince people to buy stuff? I mean, again, Eric, we're buying it for a strange coin. Well, I also like the lore. That's the whole reason I got the original Destiny, or I got it to go back and look at some of the lore stuff. But I mean, it's not one of these things. I didn't go out by the Ghost Edition because I didn't really need a little Peter Dinklage talking. I don't need any of this stuff that they're kind of giving out. I want the strange coin. That's why I'm getting it. I also want all the stuff that goes for the lore But then you've got people that are trying to just get the DLC stuff that comes with it. And that's another 10, 20, $30 just for DLC. And it's already a $40 DLC. How can you convince somebody to buy a digital collector's edition?
That one's a tough one because they had the Destiny one that the Taken King's coming out soon. They had their initial interview with one of the developers or producers of it, and he said the main thing that you can get are 4 new emotes that you can use on the game, and we're going to be throwing money at the screen. Well, if you think of it, I'm not paying extra money for me being able to dance 2 different ways and then do 2 other emotes that other people might not be able to. I'm not buying the game over again just to get that now. I mean, I am getting it now because I'm getting the Strange Corn, but that was released afterwards. So when you get all these, like, you're not getting any physical thing, you're just getting DLCs, I don't feel like it's ever worth it because if you look at the track record of these companies, you buy the collector's edition or the special edition Destiny like I got, or you pre-order it and you get like the Vanguard Armory, and it's on Xbox Live for free. So I spent extra money getting collector's editions to get digital content that's now available to everyone, and Mortal Kombat's another one as well. All these skins and stuff you were supposed to get special, they're now available to buy for either $1 or they're for free. So I don't ever get into the ones you buy it just for digital.
Yeah. So I've purchased 2 collector's edition things in the past 4 years, I would say, other than Halo. So I'm not very big on it, but I did buy the collector's edition for World of Warcraft Cataclysm and for Pandaria. Now, for my Cataclysm one, I got a pack of cards, I got a mouse pad, I don't know where it's at, I got a booklet that had some coloring in it, I don't know, and I got a soundtrack. So I don't know why I bought it, because none of that appealed to me. Now, I do know people that stuff does appeal to. You know, they want this huge art book, because it's a pretty cool art book. They want the soundtrack to listen to when they go to work, or, you know, I don't know who that is. Soda can listen to while he's PvPing the Mount Highjall soundtrack.
I heard the bass kicks in those soundtracks, so.
Yeah, but now, I don't know why I bought it, but I just wanted the box. The box is nice. The box is something that I can set up and put up on the wall or something like that. I don't have it with me because I packed it when I came from Newport down to here. But like for my Pandaria one, you know, I've been getting used to this thing. So I've had this thing since it came out. And it didn't come with a pack of cards. It just came with a soundtrack coloring book and came with a mount, which the mount sucked. And also with the Cataclysm one, it came with a loot card, and I got this Spectral Tiger that I can do. It was like not the rideable Spectral Tiger. It was like a seesaw Spectral Tiger, but you had a chance of getting a Spectral Tiger, a Multi-Drake, all the TCG mounts. It was a Landro's loot card. So that's a good value, because I think it only was like $35 over the normal rate. So it's all about the value that you'll get out of it. So.
Yeah, that is very true. We'll see. I'm flashing my Destiny booklet, which has like the arms and armaments. It's got notes on some of the different weapons. It's got postcards and stuff. I mean, it's something that it wouldn't appeal to everybody, but I personally liked it. And also, I now have a steelbook case to hold Destiny and any other future expansions that I can hold, or any other future game discs for that matter. So I mean, it is a matter of value. And the digital collector's edition, to me, it feels like that's almost a paid timed exclusive. It's not like a regular timed exclusive like we talked about last week, where you get this thing for so long and then later you come back and it's, oh, well, everybody gets this. To me, like what Eric was saying is you're getting Mortal Kombat skins now for a higher price. Or you're getting it now because you bought it immediately. And then they turn around and they can sell it later. Last thing before we move on. What do you think your all-time favorite collector's edition is?
Ones that we've got or ones that we're getting?
It's a good question. It's whatever you want to do. It's whichever.
In all honesty, I know that this Fallout 4 is going to be an awesome one, just to the fact that, you know, I'm more big on what you can actually get with it and use. So I think that this is going to be awesome just for the stuff you get for it. But in general, I think that my favorite collector's edition definitely was the I'd have to say the Modern Warfare one where you got the goggles. I didn't get it because I didn't have the money, but I would have loved to get that one. But out of the ones that are out, it's that one. One that's coming out, it's Fallout 4.
Yeah, I would definitely
Nice.
say it's probably a tie between the Modern Warfare 2 one and the Gears of War one. Didn't you get like a gun with it or something like that? You got like the
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that probably trumps like everything that's come out because it was a huge gun. Like it was like that big.
Yeah, I
Something like
had
that.
one of them. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
bought it separate, but yeah, they were pretty cool.
Yeah, I would say between Modern Warfare 2 and that one, it's probably my favorite.
I'd say that I echo all your sentiments. I loved the Modern Warfare 2. I loved the NVGs, and I knew people that had them, but I never had them myself. So I would be like, "Hey, can I mess around with those?" And they'd be like, "Yeah, sure." And then I'd get to mess around with them, and it was pretty cool. But if I'd had the money or if I'd had the Xbox, I definitely would have done it. The best one that I own, I really don't own that many because even though there's been a lot of cool ones come out, I've either been late to jump on the bandwagon, I've been late to get on it, or it's just been something like, do I want it, do I not? And then it's gone. So the one that I own is my Halo Reach because it does come in this huge crate that looks pretty cool. And that's probably
true.
the biggest plus for that. So
Okay.
with that, we've wrapped up Collector's Edition. Now it's on to Eric, who's going to talk at us a little bit more about games.
All right. So last week, I don't know who all's here that watched last week, but or if you've gone back and seen our episodes on YouTube, the thing I'm going to touch on this week are two games. One of which is a pretty popular game that's an exclusive for the Xbox. The other one is one that's coming out that just was announced at Gamescom. First one we'll go ahead and talk about is Forza 6. It's a very popular game on all of the Xboxes. They've been on 360, they're on Xbox One now, and they're mainly known for just their amazing graphics and realistic gameplay, whether that be between using clutch with a manual to actually having you don't know if it's a real picture or the game. So with the Forza 6 that's coming out, it comes out on the 15th of September. I just seen a thing that they released at Gamescom where they're now going to be having racing in rain or shine, which is new for them. They put rain into the game actually to where basically they had to get help from an actual indie driver to help them with the rain. They have 148 surfaces they had to put rain onto, and the rain is in 1080p, 60 frames per second, and that's at 24 cars on the track. So that's absolutely phenomenal if you actually see the video. So with that one, before we touch on something else in regards to Forza, with this being an Xbox exclusive, and especially with the way that these graphics are heading for these games, what do you think that this really holds in the future of not just racing games, but all games in general, with their graphics, their pioneering in regards to putting it into rain or shine and actually having the rain make a difference?
Well, I think it's phenomenal too because each game that comes out steps up the bar, in my opinion. Each year they're increasing the graphics. Like last year, the graphics sucked on what was it, the first Xbox One game that came out, Battlefield 4 or something like that. But anyway,
Right.
you know, this year's games is crazy with the graphics, but it's also costing them more, so they're also spending more on advertising for those games because they got to get those games out there. They've got to tell you about those little things they're doing in the game. Hey, we went here, we filmed at this. It's got 1080p for this here. We can't wait for you to play our game to race on this. It's the little things that they're advertising out, and it's the little things that games have to do now to prove their game's worthy. They can't just say, this is Halo. This is, you're going to play some team deathmatch. We got to say, all right, we did this. This is in 1080p graphics. Look at how these buildings are crumbling. They're good graphics on this. You can do this, you can do that. And it's all about the graphics. It's all about the new engines, things like that. That's how games are promoted nowadays. It's not off the old gameplay that you're going to get from it. So.
Well, see, I agree that a lot of it has to do with graphics, and everybody's trying to push next genier. But I also look at it. A lot of people who play Forza have played all the Forzas. They love all the Forzas. At least the people who are like into tuning cars. I know a lot of people that I've talked with, people that you wouldn't expect to play video games, are out there trying to play Forza because it's realistic. Oh, I get to tune up this car, and if I do this, this, and this like I do in real life, it's going to come out the same. And I'm just like, that's never been anything that's appealed to me. So to me, the graphics are a big part. The fact that they do have new systems that are going to like actually mess with the physics of the game, where you're going to have a sticky track or a slick track based on whether it's hot or cold or rainy or sunny or whatever. I think that's a great innovation, and the people who like racing games are going to eat it up, and the people who like good-looking games are going to eat it up.
Hmm.
But it's one of these things. There's only so much that you can do to a game like that that's gonna make me go, huh? I really want to play that. I'm more of an arcade racing style. Scion said in the chat that he's going to stick with Horizon. I feel the same way. Even though I'm not going to play many Forza games, I would like Horizon better because it's more of the arcadey type, more like a Need for Speed type.
Yeah.
Hmm. Now, I mean, whenever I think of it, I mean, I've played all the Forzas. They're the games that get to the point where I'll play them a lot, and I'll switch the cars up and make them look how I want, and I spend more time painting them than I really even do racing.
Yeah.
Just the fact that I can get in there and I can customize a car, and I could be like, I'll never own a GTR in my life unless I win the lottery. But by God, I've got one on here in 2 hours of playing, and now I'm going to make it look exactly how I'd want to whenever I have one. So it's one of those things that I kind of lose interest in the game, and it's one of those I'll play it for like a week. I'll kind of get out of it for a bit, and I'll come back and I go through spurts of wanting to play it or not. Which this one might be a little bit different because it's a little bit more unpredictable. Because I believe they use the weather in Forza 5, they would actually get the live weather from the Weather Channel, and they should be using this like they are in the old game. So if it's raining in Germany and you're on, Nürburgring or whatever, it's going to be raining there. So I think that's a pretty cool aspect to it too. So like if I was actually there racing, this is what I would be dealing with. Next thing I'm actually going to talk about in regards to Forza 6 now. This might not appeal to Seth so much, but Steven, I don't know about you, but collector's editions I feel kind of get into the same boat as special edition Xboxes. So they're making a Forza 6 edition Xbox. The cover on Forza 6, if you've seen, it's the new Ford GT, the standard Ford cobalt blue with the darker blue racing stripes. Now, they modeled it off of that Ford GT, which is their cover. And I was looking into this, and this is a really cool new Xbox that they've got. It's got a 1 terabyte hard drive, which is ginormous. It's not so big if you own a lot of games, or if you're me who only keeps 3 to 4 games at a time with 2 or 3 downloaded. It's huge for me. It's going to have a lot of new features with these that the other ones didn't. It's actually got the button on the front, if I'm not mistaken, from what I've seen. It's not an actual touch button. It's an actual button that around it says start and off, like the, push to start on a car. Whenever you turn it on, makes the sound of the Ford GT starting up. When you turn it off, it makes the sound of it shutting off. The disc tray is kind of like, it's kind of bland for me. I didn't really get, I understand it, but I don't understand it. The disc tray, when you open it, instead of it making a ting noise, it makes an actual, like a, one of the guns that they use to take lug nuts off tires, which means cool and all, but I could deal without it, or I could deal with another noise. I could deal with like a car door shutting, if honestly. But so that's something about that. They've got a few other neat little things about it. They've got like a badge on the side where it's their 10-year anniversary for Forza, actually, for this release. It's got a little badge on the side. It's got the stripes on it. It basically looks just like a Ford GT. So talking about this special edition Xbox, how do you guys feel that, what Forza is doing right or wrong with this? Do you think, because they've not done anything like this before, do you think it's going to bring in a large group of people who are going to buy it? Now, before you answer that as well, I'll just tell you that I made a joke to where I'm going to sell my current Xbox and clear up room on a credit card to go ahead and get the new one. Because, it comes with a blue controller, and it's just awesome. But I'm a sucker for special editions. That's all I've owned, except for this one and the Arcade Edition 360. They've all been special editions. But what do you guys think that they're doing right with actually making a special edition now for this and having it?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love everything about it. I've seen it. I didn't know it was doing all the stuff like with this actual physical button and the disc tray. I just saw it in passing. But I love everything about the blue Xbox with all this stuff coming out, the special sound effects. I love it. And I'm kind of the opposite of you, Eric. While I always love the special editions and always look at it and say, man, the Halo special edition looks really cool, I'm not going to go out and get one because mine works just fine. Now, That's not to say that I didn't consider getting the Destiny Taken King PS4 just recently, even though I have a perfectly good PS4. But that's something different. I like Destiny pretty well. But,
Well, you're obsessed with Destiny, so there's a huge difference.
yes, true. But it's like with the Xbox One, I'm kind of attached. I mean, I get attached to my physical possessions because uh, especially with this, it's something that I paid for with my own money. It's something that I went out and worked and got, and it's kind of got a special place because it's also the day one. I've got the box still. I've got everything with it. I've got the day one controller. I don't use it anymore. But I mean, this one is kind of special, and until it just 100% breaks down or just red ring of deaths, whatever, yeah, I'm probably not going to do anything with it because I would rather it not get broken, not get torn up. I'm just going to leave it and I'm going to hold on to it and cherish it forever. I mean, there you go, Eric. I can do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
but I mean,
stand back.
It's not going to be one of those things where I'm going to rush out and buy it because, again, I even have a blue controller. Now it's the Midnight Forces edition. It's not going to be the same as a blue Forza controller, but it's not something that I'm rushing out to get just because, oh, it's a special edition. It's got fancy colors. I appreciate what it's doing, and if I ever have something go wrong with this one, I'm not above trying to look for it. But I just really like the concept more than I like actually going out and spending money on it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm the same way. I'm a tightwad, like I said. Like, y'all know my 360, it was dirt trash, and my controller was dirt trash. Had dog marks chewed all over it. Eric knows, half the thing was taken off of it. The controller analog stick, but that Xbox sounds pretty badass. I'm not gonna lie on that one.
Sounds like a jet ticket.
Yeah, like honestly, I would totally go out and buy that one just for those components. Like, that's out of the extreme. Like everything they're doing with that. Like, you turn it on. What'd you say it sounds like when you turn it on?
It starts up like a Ford GT and it turns off like a Ford GT.
Oh yeah, I could totally go for that one. Especially if it sounded like a GTR or something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty sweet. But anyway, would I necessarily go out and buy it right now? No, not necessarily right off the bat until I heard what it sounded like, what kind of reviews it got, because they're putting a lot of new technology into that Xbox. So why would I go out and buy a whole new Xbox that could be broken when I could just use mine? So.
Yeah.
True.
Now, yeah, with that one, because I mean, I've had to go through them. I started with a regular 360 in arcade, an arcade edition. I've had a Modern Warfare 2 edition. I had the Halo 4 edition. I had the Star Wars edition, and now I don't have a 360 now, but you can see my track record in wanting to get these just because it's something different. It's something that not everyone's gonna have, and I'd love that to be able to sit there and look at it. Now, moving to the next thing that we're going to talk about, Steven, and before we started this, and I was kind of hinting at it, you've not played these games. You might not be much of a help, and I don't know if Seth has either, but new game that just got released for Gamescom is going to be Crackdown 3. Now, I played the first and second Crackdown with my brother when I first started playing Xbox. It's one of these things that's going to be taking me down a trip down memory lane. So the third one set to come out in the summer of 2016. They've not given us a date, but they just said in that time frame. The only thing they've released so far is, in the general sense of the game, it's going to be classic play in a new city with a new way, is what they said. Which I love the first and second Crackdown. They're some of the funnest games. Now, with that being said, the only thing they've released so far is in the new city. It's called Gangland. There's a criminal hierarchy, apparently, that has taken over the city, and it's your choice and it's your freedom on how you shut down this hierarchy, which basically in the video they had a bunch of links coming from one of the criminals to linking to other smaller criminals. So you can just bounce around, taking over the spots and everything, have freedom. Basically, with this, they've only released it the alpha, and alpha video was shown. Now they've released the multiplayer and said it's going to be available sometime, I think, around the summer of 2016 is what they had said as well. But the multiplayer is something very different for a game like this. Battlefield is the only game that I know of, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but the only one that I know of that has full destruction or almost full destruction of things is Battlefield. This new multiplayer they're putting into Crackdown 3, the entire environment, 100% of it, is destructible. They basically had a video where everyone was just taking rocket launchers and knocking down the biggest building in the city, and it's crashing and taking down a bunch of other buildings. They're shooting, bridges down. It was just chaos, just destroying an entire city. Now, with that being a new game that's coming out, and I know that's a very far time away, and we can't really know what's going to happen, but with games moving to what they are with that, to give the players more freedom to do what they want, do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing for these kind of games?
I think it's a good thing. I think a lot of games nowadays are leaning towards more freedom. I forgot the last MMO that came out that was talking about all freedom. You get to roam here, you get to roam there. You get to do like Witcher 3. You get to roam all across the world. And I think Skyrim is one of those that kind of set the bar for that kind of game. Getting to roam and getting to say, all right, you can do your main quest, but there's also 500 off quests that you can do. And I think gaming companies took that in consideration and say, this freedom will also make our game last longer and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, Crackdown, I love that game. I bought Crackdown for the Halo 3 beta exclusively, but I also played the crap out of Crackdown 2. Was it Crackdown 1? Yeah, I believe it was the first Crackdown. It was a long time ago when I played that. But I really liked it because it was like Grand Theft Auto, but you got to jump everywhere and do things like that. Now, I don't necessarily remember the boundaries of what you could and could not do. I remember it was you could pretty much do anything you wanted to do, but I don't remember the buildings being all destructible, things like that, because that's kind of a new concept that's happened over the past 3 or 4 years in games. But I do agree on the concept of letting the free roam go, because you're going to explore the whole game. So.
Well, that's something. The first thing, and like you said, I've not played any of the Crackdown games, but like the first thing that you said when you mentioned that there was going to be fully destructible environments, there's going to be like a chain of enemies that you can take down however you please, whenever you please. Like the first thing that popped into my mind was the PlayStation 2 game Mercenaries. I don't know if either of you all played that, but I played that like it was my job when I was like 10, 11, 12, and I absolutely loved it. So if it's anything like that where you can like run around and just have all this freedom, you can go blow stuff up, you can tear down buildings, you can do anything you want whenever, there's a good chance that I'm going to buy it, especially because it will give me kind of that nostalgic feeling. It won't be the same because it won't be the Crackdown nostalgia, but it'll still be nostalgia in that I can go through and I can tear stuff up and do whatever I want in a somewhat realistic environment. And I absolutely love just being able to say, hey, see that building? Gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
So these are. Oh, go ahead,
now
Seth.
is Crackdown an exclusive Xbox One game?
If I'm not mistaken, the first two were exclusive. So I don't imagine why this one wouldn't be. But these last two games I've said from their previous, I know that Forza is going to be, but from their previous reputations, they are going to be Xbox exclusive. So that's one thing that we can kind of play into the next topic, which Seth is going to talk about. Now, before we go on to Seth, just want to give a quick shout out to Scion and Dat Gamer. Thanks for the follow, guys. Make sure to keep tuning in for us. And also to touch on Dat Gamer before we go, didn't know if you heard, but I heard you like Minecraft on the chat. So just going to let you know, they're giving Minecraft compatibility, so if you're on a PlayStation 4, you can play with Xbox One. So that's something you can look forward to if you have any PlayStation friends. So now from going on to that, we'll go on to Seth, who has his next topic, which is going to kind of play into these last two things that me and Steven have talked about.
Right. It's like what Eric said, we've talked about these components of the games, what's good, what's coming out, and mostly we've talked about Microsoft games, if I'm not mistaken. So last week, Sony released and Microsoft released their quarter one earnings for 2015, and between April 1st and June 30th, PlayStation 4 sold 3 million units, and the Xbox One and Xbox 360 only sold 1.4 million. So it's a little over double, and that was just PlayStation 4s. Like, they didn't include PlayStation 3s if they're still getting sales, but usually they're pretty close to each other. So what necessarily made PS4 jump up, selling 1.5 1.6 million more units than the Xbox? So what's your guys' thoughts on that?
It's definitely, it stems all the way back to the release in my mind. I mean, PlayStation got traction immediately because, and we've talked about this before on here, Microsoft comes out and says, hey, we're going to let you do this, but you have to connect to the internet once a day. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do that, but you're going to be able to share games with anybody, and you're going to be able to play games without having a disc in, and everybody's just like, well, we didn't ask for that. We just want to be able to play games. Digital's the future. We still want to play games now, and not everybody has this reliable connection. Then Sony comes up and says, hey, you know how you share a Sony game? You know how you share a PlayStation 3 game? And I mean, that right there, that their entire E3, what is 2 years ago, 3 years ago, absolutely dominated. And it absolutely killed any chance that Microsoft had of coming up with a big, big boost at the beginning. So they've been playing from behind the entire time.
Yeah, and that's something, if you think about it, we've also talked about this as well. You have Xbox gamers with, me being an exception, probably Steven as well, but when they announced the Xbox One, I would say at least 60% of them said, why go to 360 or go from 360 to Xbox One and spend all this money when I can play the exact same games that are going to be out on Xbox One in the day of release, which was Ghost and Battlefield 4 were the two big names. They were thinking, why move from 360 to Xbox One when I can just play these on my 360 and not have to spend $400 or $500 if I just want to spend, 60. Now, also the Xbox, when it was released, you had to buy it with a Kinect, which put it up another $100. So that's another thing that kind of scared people away. I feel as though the reason why PlayStation had such of a better release, one, they released before the Xbox One. They were the next gen. They had the better graphics, so everyone, kind of bought a PlayStation 4 to see what it's like. And then two, they didn't really tell gamers, you have to have a Kinect for it. You're not going to be able to do anything really unless you have a Kinect. We only have two big name games that are coming out, and it's going to take you forever to download them. And, some of our network things are going to be down for the first couple of days because there's such of an overload. PlayStation had kind of a seamless release. They're like, here's another PlayStation, here's another new set of games that come with this. Go ahead and play it. Xbox One was trying so many new things. I think it kind of scared some gamers away in a general sense.
Right. That's true, and you also got to think about when the Xbox thing, they've got to include anything that really comes out on a Windows type basis because they're with Microsoft. So anything that Microsoft comes out, they're going to try it on the Xbox One. So that was kind of a neat feature for them. But anyway, so as we talked about, the console gaming's industry is actually growing. I know I seen a post the other day for World of Warcraft, which is the largest MMO on the web, and it's down to 5.5 million subscribers. When in I think December it was at over 10 million, so it's lost about 5.5, or yeah, it's lost a little over 5.5 million, or 5 million in general. But speaking of that, Sony kind of raised the bar for their revenue for this year and last year too, because this year Sony is expected to sell 16.5 million PS4 consoles between April 2015 until March of 2016 of next year, and that's a higher percentage of what last year's was at 16 million. So do you think that they're doing a great thing raising the bar? Are they super confident of their products now?
Well, I think now this one real quick to touch on that as well. Funny thing I forgot to tell you, Seth, is they've been emailing my old account for WoW, trying to give me so much free playtime on there if I just come back. Which is kind of funny. But back to what you were actually talking about. With the PlayStations, we've seen the same thing when the 360 and the PlayStation 3 were new. You have a great influx of, you have quite a number of units being sold, but it goes up after a couple years. And I think the reason being between that is now they're becoming a lot more available. Not as many people are on 360 now, and they're migrating to Xbox Ones now to where you have all your friends going, so why not go? Because I could play with all my friends. Now, also you think of it too, Xbox One now has an addition to where you don't have to have a Kinect for it. You can buy used ones for $350. They're becoming as accessible as the Xbox 360s and stuff came when they first came out. Because when I first got a 360, I had to take $100 and some odd dollars up to GameStop. I had to trade in my Xbox, my original Xbox, every game that I ever owned on the Xbox, and I still had to pay $100 because I think that they were, if I'm not mistaken, like $350. And that was the arcade edition that came with like a 300 megabyte memory card. And if you think of that now, that is mind-blowing. The fact that we have an Xbox that's coming out in September that's had a terabyte standard in it. for almost the same amount as an Xbox 360 arcade was that came with 300 megabytes. That's nothing nowadays. So if you think about it with these, they're becoming more accessible and you're getting so much worth out of it. I think now with that being, saying that we're going to sell 16 million units in a year, I don't think that's that big of a number for them to really do. If they really wanted to, they could probably do more. Just to the fact that the value you're getting with these now, I mean, gaming consoles are worth what they're worth, but now, I mean, you're getting 500 gigabytes minimum in these consoles, when that wasn't even a thing back in the day until they released the Xbox Elite.
Right. Well, to add on to that, you're getting, like you said, there's all kinds of value when you're sitting here paying even $350 or $400 for one of these consoles, and it's not unquestionable to go out and pay that because you're getting a much beefier system. You're getting all this extra stuff. But one thing I would like to point out is Sony says it expects to sell 16.5 million consoles during the year from April 2015 to March 2016. It was released just recently that Nintendo just sold its 10 millionth Wii in the past quarter. So what they're saying is in the, I guess it's now the third year of the PlayStation 4's life, second or third year of the PlayStation 4's life, they're going to sell more consoles in 1 year than the Wii has sold in 3 or in 4. So, I mean, I think it's absolutely 100% achievable for them. I don't think they're setting it too high. I think they are raising the bar. They are setting the standard for what console sales should look like. And even if it's not like it was back when the PS2 came out, even if it's not those kind of numbers, if it's not the gaudy numbers like that, it's still they're back on top after a generation playing second fiddle to Xbox 360 and the Wii. I mean, they learned from their mistakes when the Wii came out and it was a casual hit. Everybody had one, and then nobody played it. And then when it came time for everybody to start playing games, everybody started picking up Xbox 360s because at the time that was the better deal, and they had the better marketing. They had the better online service, even if it's not one that was free like PlayStation Network. Even if it wasn't free, it was something where you didn't have to worry about whether or not it was going to just randomly go down. You were fairly secure that Xbox Live was up. You were fairly certain that Xbox Live would be there. So now PlayStation has come out, even though they're charging for PlayStation Plus and you have to have it in order to play online, they're undercutting Xbox One. They're still at a great price point, and there's not many exclusives again this year. And we talked about this last week, but there aren't as many exclusives that there used to be. So if you get a PlayStation 4, you're basically getting an Xbox One. It's just you're going to have a different controller. It's not the same thing as, well, when Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis were out, you were either getting Sonic the Hedgehog or Mario. Here it's, well, you're all getting Destiny, you're all getting Call of Duty, but they're going to have different exclusives come out at the beginning. PlayStation's going to get something a little early, then Xbox will get it sometime later. There's not the exclusive. So when all things are equal, PlayStation at this point is winning out.
Right.
Now, also, one quick thing to take into consideration as well, you have to think a lot of people have Xboxes now, I mean, me personally, I'm looking at getting a PlayStation 4, and it's basically just to have it for some of the exclusives that I can't get. One being Octodad, which is just an arcade game that I just love beyond reason for some reason. So, you have to think that is including the holiday season. That's Black Friday, that's Christmas, that's all the big events where all these consoles really thrive on selling. So, it's 16 million, especially including Christmas and Black Friday, is not a big number.
Right, and I agree.
True.
And like from y'all are saying, we're giving Sony praise of why they're ahead and this, that, and the other, but we also got to take in consideration the total Xbox revenue from period to date of last year is actually up 27%. And they say this was an increase because of console sales, Xbox Live transactions, and the first-party sales. So, I mean, we've talked about Xbox being behind Sony, or Microsoft being behind in Sony, but actually they're up in a sense of their own company, 27%, which is a huge growth amount if you take that into consideration of any huge business. You never hear of a business growing by 27% in general. But, I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, if they're up 27%, then why is Sony getting all this praise from game talk shows and, IGN and things like that?
Well, they're doing a lot of cool things with their consoles that's kind of either putting them ahead or catching them up. One thing you have to think about with Xbox going up is you guys probably went through the same thing with your 360s. You could only go out and get points like Microsoft points. You had to buy a $20 card, you got 1,600 points, which 1,600 points is equivalent to $20. They moved away from that, and now everything almost dropped my controller. That'd have been bad. Day one. I don't want to break it. So the
Just trade something in
fact
for
of the matter is that, yeah, whatever, go to game nights. They basically the only thing that they did is they moved away from gamer points and have it now where everything is money transaction with a credit card instead of buying points. Now, when 360 was growing, that was when all these people like me, myself, and you guys were not even 18 years old. We didn't really have debit cards. We didn't have credit cards. So now all these gamers who are like my age, we all have our own debit cards. We have our own credit cards. We make, our own money. So we're spending actual money on the Xbox. So the revenue goes up because instead of saying, I've got to go out, why spend $20 on a Game Point card, come here and buy it digitally when I can just buy the game for $20. Instead, I'm just going to sit on my bed and I'm just going to buy it and wait for it to download and watch some Hulu in my boxers and eat some popcorn. So, why get dressed and go out? Now, this is something that's a thing for entrepreneurism in general. Everyone wants to buy time nowadays. I get mad when my phone goes to 3G. I get mad when my Wi-Fi stops working because it takes 10 more seconds to, load something. So, instead of me going to get gamers points and stuff like that, I'm now buying time by taking 10 seconds to purchase it on the Xbox. So the revenue goes up because where everything's going to digital, it's making everything a lot easier to get instead of having to say, well, I'll get it next time I'm at Walmart than forgetting. So everyone's buying a lot more stuff because it's easier.
Right. Now, also, when did the Xbox platform get revealed? I'm not sure the actual date of when that happened. Do y'all know exactly? Well, out of that, you have any idea? Well, anyway.
I think it was during E3,
right. But during that month,
not the exact date.
Of that 27% growth, Xbox says that 10% of that, which resulted in an $86 million increase for that month, was attributed to the revealing of that Xbox platform, which was driven by the higher volumes of consoles sold, but they lowered the price of their Xbox at that time. I didn't know if y'all thought of that into consideration too.
No, I hadn't actually considered really any of that as far as it refers to revenue and how things are selling. So that's a pretty cool point that you bring up there.
Right. Okay, now that we've talked about Sony, what they have good, and Microsoft, what's going on for them, let's look at the company as a whole, like how they did for their whole fiscal year. So, looking at it, Sony actually reported a revenue of $14.8 billion, which is huge. So I'm gonna, before I move on to tell what's Microsoft's, I'm gonna ask y'all's opinions, the chat's opinions. Actually, I don't have chat up right now. My internet's going a little haywire. So, what do you think Microsoft is compared to Sony on their revenue for their fiscal year, Steven?
Microsoft versus Sony, just from a standpoint of Microsoft does have more than just Xbox. Microsoft has all of the computer stuff, and every time even if you are buying a computer from somebody like Alienware, some money is still going back to Microsoft because they have to license the software. I'm sitting here thinking it may not be a huge difference, but I'm going to say that Microsoft, because they are so diverse, they have so much different stuff, I'm going to say that it's going to be a little bit higher.
Okay. What about you, Eric?
I think he's definitely right. I think that the diversity is going to result in Microsoft being a little bit higher, I want to say. But I don't think, I know the diversity plays a huge part in it, but I think another big part is, like I said, moving from gamer points to purchasing with a card. It opened up a lot of windows for people to be able to put that money directly into Microsoft because, I mean, Microsoft sells a $20 gamer point card at GameStop, and GameStop's getting a percentage of that, so it takes away some of Microsoft's revenue because they're having to give some to GameStop because GameStop sold it. So moving from that, then instead of making $15 off the game, like the gamer point card, they're making $20 even. So I think it's going to be a little bit higher because of diversity and them going to a different purchasing platform.
Right, I agree. What about anybody in the chat? Have they said anything, Steven, on what they think?
No, it's mostly just Hyper-Eyes blowing me up, asking me about Wii U and Mario Kart.
Okay,
Yeah, it's great.
well, actually, Microsoft revenue was at 22.2 billion for their fiscal year, which was actually down 5% over a year. Now, like what you said, you know,
Poor Microsoft, whatever.
But still, hold on. Before we get that, let's break it down. Let's drill down on it just a little further. Okay. Steven was talking about, you know, Microsoft gets a cut on computers that come in. They get a cut on their license for here, for there, for, you know, Microsoft's everywhere. They're going to get a cut off everything. Now, let's talk about Sony. Sony's was 14.8 billion, like I stated, but this was an increase by 38%. 38% growth in their company.
Wow.
For a whole year. So, now you think about this. Sony's mostly just selling their PS4s. You know, I don't know what all Sony doesn't have a huge component other than their PS4 that I'm aware of. So, they've increased the sales by that. I would roughly say 30% of that goes to the PS4s. Now, if Microsoft's at a 22.4 billion and they're down 5%, you can almost believe that 5% is dealt straight to the PS4s, all the functions that's coming out to it. Destiny, DLC that came out. If you really think about it in a whole picture, Sony's actually ahead when it comes to consoles overall, because Microsoft's got their Alienwares, they've got this, they've got that. Sony's got their PS4, so in my opinion, I don't own a PS4. I don't own, you know, I didn't even own a PS3, for example. But something about their products is just pulling the whole audience in, and it's proven in their revenue. 38% growth is crazy. I mean, it's unreal, honestly. But I think this year and maybe next year, Microsoft's they're gonna have to try something different to try to get that back, because they can't really, I mean, they can't afford, but if they drop down more this year, because it's kind of obvious that Sony's ahead, so Sony's going to keep pulling ahead probably. You don't want Microsoft to drop down another 5% and Sony jump ahead maybe 60% in growth this year. So I think it's going to be a very big year for Sony because they're going to promote their products. But I think Microsoft's going to take that into consiration too, and we're going to see a lot of good things come out of Microsoft.
Well, here's kind of how I look at it. Sorry, Eric. Well, Sony's had practice at this. Sony has had practice at going out and making complete fools out of themselves at E3 at a big reveal, and everybody going, "Ew, no." Yeah. Because if you think, let's just look at Sony's history with consoles. I mean, they were partnered with Nintendo to make the Nintendo PlayStation. Then that fell through. They announced the next day after that, hey, we're going to make the Sony PlayStation. It was the only major competitor for the Nintendo 64, and it actually outperformed the Nintendo 64. You turn around, PlayStation 2 dominates. It's the biggest, highest, best-selling console ever of all time. I mean, you can't argue with that. Then they got cocky. They turned around, and in the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360 generation, they just lost it. They completely and totally just lost it. They got too cocky. They said, our machine is so good, we're going to put it at $500, $600. And Microsoft says, yeah, our lowest is $350. You can buy another one that's like $400. But, I mean, you don't have to buy this huge, massive console, and that's your only option. Sony's had practice with this. They've been successful, and then they turned around and they fell on their face. Well, that's exactly what's happening with Microsoft right now. They came in. They were a newcomer in their first generation. Xbox sold pretty poorly if you actually look at the numbers compared to PlayStation 2 and, well, GameCube. But then they turned it around. They took advantage of Sony being just overconfident, overhyped, and then they just ran with it. So Sony's been on the side that Xbox is on the side that Microsoft's on right now. So they know how it feels. They know what it's like to go from the top to all the way to the bottom and just be like, oh no, how do we get out of this? So that's what they're doing. They're working on trying to get out of this, or that's what Microsoft's doing. They're trying to work to get out of this while Sony's sitting here going, oh yeah, well, we're doing pretty good. And in the chat, Loki just pointed out we're forgetting that Sony does TVs, cameras, phones, and a lot of other modern technology, and they also do Sony Pictures. But here's the thing. They may be diverse, but if you look at all their revenue, and this is one thing that I actually have read in the past few months, Sony sales for electronics are tanking. Like, the only thing that's like keeping Sony up is basically PlayStation. Their TVs are tanking, their cameras are tanking, phones are tanking. Everything else is just basically going face first into the dirt. And to me, I feel like PlayStation is keeping them afloat. I mean, it's not one of those things where it's the only thing that the company does, but besides movies, I mean, they had a huge year this past year because of The Interview. And even though it was released for free on a lot of platforms, there were a lot of people that paid to watch it early. So, I mean, that's something you got to take into consideration, too. That was a super hyped movie. It may not have been good, but it was super hyped because of all the controversy around it. So, regardless of what's going on, you've still got, for me, in my mind, PlayStation is the driving force in Sony right now. A lot of the stuff, their other electronics aren't really passing muster right now.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, based on a console setting, Sony's ahead. It's proven. It's proven in the numbers. You can see that every quarter. Sony was double Xbox sales, and that included the Xbox One and the 360. That was just the PS4 sales alone. Doubled both those two consoles combined. So,
Yep.
as of now, they're proven ahead. There's still more quarters. Their fiscal year ends in April or something like that, I believe. And, we'll see what's in store.
Yep, and it's I don't want to take us too far over. I didn't get a chance to touch on that, but basically everything that Steven said. I'm an Xbox fan and everything like that, and I mean I'll still get a PlayStation 4, but I prefer it. But you gotta give credit where it's due. You can't be biased whenever you're talking about the stuff. I mean, credit is due to PlayStation for, a general sense, being semi ahead of the Xbox One. Now, I mean, I don't know about so much about the future, especially with Microsoft's, conjoining everything into one, where you could play console games over a computer and vice versa, and everything like that. I mean, I don't know what that's going to lead for the future for Xbox with these new things coming out, but as it stands right now with those stats, I mean, PlayStation is in a general sense ahead.
I agree.
Well, with that last comment, I believe that does pretty much all we have time for tonight. Again, check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/developmentneededcast. We post updates. We talk about what's going on. This past week, everything was kind of up in the air until right before everything came up, until I guess last night it was kind of up in the air. So stay posted on there, or you can stay posted on there. You can also follow us on Twitter or on YouTube. Twitter at DevNeededCast. It's over there on the right-hand side. And then YouTube, if you just follow the link on the bottom right, you can find our YouTube channel. Again, not going to be able to click it, but it's just, it's right where Seth's pointing.
I guess. I think
right
I'm on
there.
that side. Is
Yeah.
it that way?
But,
Is it that way?
Yeah, it's that way.
It could be
That way?
It could be
Okay.
somewhere.
Yeah, down over
So,
there in that corner.
But we've got all this. We've got all these social media sites. Again, hit us up on our SurveyMonkey link. If you have a topic that you would really like to hear us talk about, that's great. We'd love to be able to address individual topics. We'd love to be able to look and see what you as viewers want to see. And other than that, you know how to get in contact with us through any of our social media. This video will go up hopefully in the next few days. No promises. Maybe Monday at the latest.
Come on, Steven.
But
It'll be up eventually, we promise.
hey, before the end of time, we will have it up. So with that, okay, come on, Loki, just pay attention. We'll get to that next week. We have very little
Yeah.
information.
Oh,
on
trust me. No,
Yeah,
Gamescom's not done. I got that one next week too. I'm thinking Gamescom. So just wait. Don't worry about it.
So we appreciate everything you're talking about in the chat. We're trying to address as much as we can in a hour time frame. We have discussed doing multiple streams a week, but as of right now, that's not really feasible with all of our schedules. But if it's something that you all would like to see, we're always willing to work to see that. But you got to let us know. So drop us a message here on Twitch, hit us up on Facebook, Twitter, leave comments on YouTube. Tell your friends. Make sure that your friends are out here watching, and make sure they're spreading the word too, because the more people we have watching, the better this can get for everybody.
Yep. And in general, just want to thank everyone that's watching currently. I see Baby Dixel's in here finally and everything. So thank you guys for stopping in. And, thanks for showing up finally and talking to us for once. So I just want to thank everyone that watched. Thank everyone who's gone to our YouTube videos. And, like he said, our best promotion, we can pay and advertise on all these social media sites if we want to. But the best advertisement we can get is word of mouth from you guys to your friends or your coworkers and stuff. So, spread us around, share us on Facebook, YouTube, share your videos through text message, however you guys got to do it.
Yep. Sounds great. So, thanks for tuning in. We will see you next week.